On one hand, Luffy's going to be the king of the pirates, and on the other, Naruto went toe-to-toe with the strongest ninja ever and then went on to seal a literal god. And while these two powerhouses of shonen manga have actually been battling it out for decades in terms of popularity, an actual all-out fight between these two would have a shocking conclusion. Because as it turns out, one of these two is way stronger than the other, and this fight isn't even close. That's of course not to say... Now that's of course not to say that we shouldn't be breaking it all down though, and who knows, maybe in the end we'll actually end up with a surprise there. And of course this is going to be a 100% scientific analysis with undeniable evidence which will absolutely convince every single person that there is one clear-cut winner with no room for any hot takes at all. Are you following so far? Well, get ready now because I'm gonna go through and calculate the gravity coefficient of each world, each fighter's atomic level durability and regeneration speed, and then determine exactly who is planetary level, solar system level, universal level, or the most overpowered tier above all the others, ramen level. Actually, no. Let's just go and have some actual fun here and see how much I can trigger each of these two truly insanely massive fan bases. And actually, let's start with some similarities here because even at base level, both are extremely powerful and are pretty much easily capable of crushing buildings with ease and moving at truly incredible speed. So 3 points for each here. Both can also use some form of magical energy to give themselves heightened senses, extreme power boosts, and even extra durability. So plus 5 points for each of them for that. But of course, their number one base ability is their insane stubbornness, which is cranked up all the way to multiversal. And oh, look at that. I just made up a new power tier. Can I call myself an official power scaler now, please? In all seriousness though, these two will go to any lengths to actually help their friends. I mean, Naruto went through the entire Sasuke retrieval arc, which didn't really end up working, and then even when Sasuke told him to go away, he fought his own friend to try to knock some true sense into him. And the very same can be said for Luffy as well, because time and time again he has shown that he will not give up on his friends, even if that means fighting impossible odds or suffering serious pain while his friends realize that Luffy will never ever give up on them. But anyways, beyond these basic similarities, let's talk about their differences in terms of power. Because beyond just his basic powers, Naruto of course has an unbelievable amount of magical chakra energy. I mean, seriously, his chakra reserves are so massive that during the middle of the battle, he easily filled up the tanks of thousands of other ninjas. But beyond just that, he can also use his chakra to enhance his physical powers, heal himself, and even use chakra energy attacks like the legendary Rasengan. On top of that, our favorite ninja warrior is extremely skilled with shuriken and kunai knives, which will be fairly important for fighting against Luffy, as we will see in just a moment. However, you might actually be surprised that Luffy's base ability might work extremely well against Naruto too. That's because his rubber body basically cannot be damaged by regular kicks or punches, so Naruto's taijutsu would be fairly ineffective and he would really need to step up his game in order to even damage Luffy in the first place. Plus, Luffy of course can stretch and bend his body in ways that could catch Naruto truly off guard, so the Hidden Leaf ninja would need to be constantly on guard against Luffy's wacky fighting style. But yeah, we're still very early in this ranking, so with all of these base powers, let's give plus 100 points to both and just say that they are roughly equal before factoring in all of their truly unique special abilities. And for that, do keep in mind that the power systems of Naruto and One Piece are way different and basically impossible to compare, so we're just gonna have some fun here and use our best guess of how things would actually work against each other. Which, the best way to do that is of course to just throw them straight into battle and see how things would turn out. And as they start clashing, they will have to quickly figure out the other's strength and weaknesses. For example, Naruto would probably learn pretty quickly that his punches work about as well as slapping Luffy with wet noodles, though we might argue that if Naruto coats his fists in chakra like Tsunade, he might actually be able to hit Luffy, but we don't really know for sure if that would actually work. Which means that right away Naruto would bust out his most devastating attack, the sexy jutsu. But in a huge surprise, this devastating attack is also completely ineffective since Luffy apparently doesn't care about women at all. And that discovery does leave Naruto so confused that Luffy might be able to rack up some truly massive damage while Naruto recovers. So minus 50 points for Naruto right here. However, Naruto would quickly change strategy and turn this into a straight up knife fight. So unless Luffy is going to bust out this cursed blade from Wano, he's going to have to pick things up a notch himself. Which is of course exactly what he would do by using his first truly advanced technique. Because using his future sight haki, Luffy can see a couple of seconds into the future, so it is easy for him to dodge the sharp blade. And really no problem at all so far, so plus 500 points for Luffy at this point. And actually man, this is going a lot better for Luffy than I thought so far. I mean, honestly, I thought he was gonna be the one struggling right out of the gate. Which yeah, I know is hard to believe, but Naruto still of course has a ton of truly earth-shattering powers still to unveil. Which for example includes using his shadow clone jutsu. As you know, this ability allows him to create dozens of actual clones and can basically only be used by Naruto because of his ridiculously massive chakra reserves. And honestly, this could be the perfect attack to truly overwhelm Luffy. In fact, if Naruto combines this with his Rasengan technique, he could create a nearly unstoppable attack. And since we do know that the Straw Hat Captain here can usually be tricked pretty easily by unfamiliar techniques, he would probably be so confused for at least a couple of seconds that Naruto could easily land a massive blow on him. Which does mean plus 1000 points for Naruto here. And are you liking my very scientific point system so far, by the way? But going back to the fight, even if that massive attack didn't finish Luffy off, Naruto could completely crush his opponent by using his summoning jutsu to call this giant grumpy toad onto the battlefield, which is an amazing feat that once again shows off Naruto's incredible chakra reserves. And let's be real, when faced with this giant talking toad, Luffy would probably want to ride it himself. In fact, Luffy has shown many times throughout the story that he can actually tame big animals with his impressive Conqueror's haki, but for this fight, let's assume that the toad remains on the ninja side for now, which would probably force Luffy to now unleash his super speed Gear second technique and punch back with his building-sized fists using his Gear third technique. And honestly, I don't even think that this Chief Toad right here would be able to withstand this truly level 10 earthquake assault on his own. But now, if you think that that is all that Luffy can do, you are sadly mistaken and clearly haven't been paying attention in One Piece, because next we would probably see a Luffy break out his Gear fourth, Snake Man, which took him 2 years of training with one of the strongest characters in all of One Piece to mentor him. Now basically, this form allows him to stretch his rubber body with an absolutely insane boost to speed and power that he could easily punch out all of the shadow clones by himself. And that would very likely give Luffy a slight advantage for the time being at least, but we can't forget that Naruto has his own animal transformation as well. In other words, to counter Snake Man, Naruto whips out his nine-tailed beast mode, which also gives Naruto incredible upgrades to speed, power, and durability by covering himself in the chakra of the nine-tailed beast. Which, as we know, is only the beginning of Naruto's tailed beast transformation and powers, because he also received chakra from every other tailed beast in the story, which does mean that he can now also use the elemental powers of all of the tailed beasts individually. Yeah, watch out, Luffy! And so in a truly crazy and breathtaking storm of attacks, Naruto launches sand powers, fire, soap bubbles, acid, ink, blinding powers, and wind, and it's basically like this never-stopping whirlwind of elemental chaos. And at this point, Luffy's basically losing his mind because Naruto's kind of combining like 9 different devil fruits with all of these crazy abilities together, which from his perspective is just absolutely absurd. And while oddly enough, Luffy has basically dealt with all of these powers before, having them all together in one really powerful opponent is a truly difficult challenge. Which, you know what that means? Exactly. Plus 100,000 points for Naruto at this point. So yeah, Luffy is really struggling with this one. Oh, 1 second. Oda-sensei, could we please get Luffy's plot armor back here? Fantastic, thank you. Let's cut the jokes here though and actually get down to some serious power scaling, because at this point the two have shown off many of their truly incredible powers, and it does seem like Naruto has a clear advantage here. However, I don't think that Luffy would be down and out quite yet here, because just like Naruto, he has incredible battle intelligence and usually does get stronger as the fights continue. In fact, Luffy could try to use some of his advanced armament haki, which adds a layer of haki that extends beyond just his skin and fists. And if any of these punches actually connect, well then watch out Naruto, because these attacks can bypass any defense and cause internal damage. However, at this point Naruto is also so fast that Luffy might actually struggle to hit the ninja straight on. And then we also have to consider that Naruto can also launch these massive Rasen Shuriken, which was explained to be so powerful that being hit is like having thousands of needles attacking every cell in your body at the same time. So yeah, I don't really care how strong haki is, this thing would do very serious damage if it actually hit Luffy, so he would probably have to run away from this thing as soon as possible. On the other hand, Luffy could change into his massive Tankman form, and this form covers his entire body in such incredibly strong defensive layers of haki that even the Rasen Shuriken might have serious trouble breaking through here. Which means that with all of their advanced moves and staggering levels of stamina, you better pull out some popcorn and make sure that you've gone to the bathroom, because this fight could actually be lasting for days, weeks, or even months. And so let's press fast forward and skip to their truly strongest current forms. And as you can see by my totally accurate scoreboard, Naruto has been dominating the fight so far, but this is where things could get a whole lot worse for our ninja here. Because if we're talking about the absolute strongest forms in the main story, then Naruto is going to enter his 6-path Sage mode. And this basically gives him such an extraordinary advantage in power and healing that I honestly don't know how Luffy would take him out. Actually, that's not quite true. There is one way that I will explain in just a moment. But this overpowered form also gives Naruto access to these devastatingly powerful truth-seeking balls as well. And these orbs of black chakra contain every possible nature power and can even be used to turn people to dust. So basically like an ultimate god level technique, which means plus 10 billion points for Naruto, which will have devastating consequences for Luffy, except that he of course also has his newest legendary power up as well, which is of course Gear 5th. Now, this is of course still a quite new form and we don't actually know all of its abilities quite yet, but what we do know is that Gear 5 is Luffy's awakened Devil Fruit form, which gives him ridiculous boosts in speed, power, and regeneration. But what's even crazier though is that Gear 5's true ability is the insane power to turn Luffy's imagination into reality. And so while Naruto may have been approaching god level powers, Luffy has literally become the Sun God. And so we do see the pirate hero do some truly unbelievable feats with this ability, such as turning other people and the environment into rubber, literally punching through people, and even swallowing things like laser beams and shooting them right back out. In other words, yeah, this is literally the definition of a broken ability. So as powerful as Naruto is, if we're assuming that Luffy can use Gear 5 to ignore some of the normal power system rules, then Naruto might be in actual serious trouble here. For example, if Naruto were to shoot one of his truth-seeking balls directly at Luffy, it would normally absolutely obliterate the Straw Hat Captain. However, with Gear 5, who's to say that Luffy couldn't just catch the ball like a dodgeball and chug it right back at Naruto? Or he could swallow the orb and turn it into a Biju Blast like we see right here. So this definitely earns Luffy a gold star and 50 billion points. But that's not even actually the worst scenario for Naruto, because there's basically one fatal weakness for this overpowered ninja. And that's of course his connection with Kurama. Because as we learn later in the show, if someone has their tailed beast removed or killed, it can be nearly fatal for the person as well. And at the very least, having a tailed beast removed will severely weaken the ninja. And so I could just imagine Luffy using the ridiculous powers of Gear 5th to somehow just reach inside of Naruto Naruto and yank out Kurama, which would then leave Naruto open for serious damage if he wasn't straight up dead at this point. Which honestly is a bit surprising since Naruto seemed to be the stronger fighter for most of this fight, but you never know what Gear 5th Luffy might actually be able to do in a fight. However, this still isn't an instant win condition for Luffy because first he would need to catch Naruto, which might actually be nearly impossible at this point, and this fight could also truly go on forever. That is, of course, unless Naruto learns a key secret to the fight, because just like Naruto has a key weakness, Luffy also has a devastating drawback to his Devil Fruit ability. Because in case you don't know, all Devil Fruit users are extremely weak to water. In fact, they become completely weak and basically can't move if they're submerged. But I'm not talking about a simple splash or rain, because a Devil Fruit user has to be pretty much fully underwater for this weakness to take its full effect. But if Naruto can figure this one out though, it could be game over pretty quickly. Because even though we rarely ever see him use this ability, Naruto does in fact have the ability to use water release thanks to the chakra of the three-tailed beast. And with this water release, he could summon small oceans of water that could completely trap Luffy and leave him basically defenseless for an easy kill. But again, this also wouldn't be easy for Naruto to pull off, since Luffy can basically fly at this point, and it would kind of be like trying to hit a super fast bird with a cup of water. And so Naruto is probably still in real trouble, but wait. Hold on, something is happening to Naruto here. Oh no, Luffy, I think you better start running because this is Byron mode Naruto, which, yeah, is technically cheating because Naruto only reveals this form about 16 years after the end of Shippuden, but you don't mind, do you? However, with this new form, Naruto truly also now enters a godlike level of power, and even though he can only use it for like a very short time, I just honestly can't see how even Gear 5th Luffy at this point could keep up with this much raw power. But hey, who knows, maybe this matchup would still be completely different if we look at the version of Luffy that we get at the end of One Piece, only that of course we haven't quite seen that version yet. But Luffy still has some truly incredibly tough opponents to fight in the story, which might mean that he has way more power-ups yet to come before the end of the story. Which honestly means that this fight is going to be way closer than I first imagined, but there is one thing that would for sure put an end to it. And it isn't an insane power-up or a new move. No, the one thing that could truly end this fight once and for all is if Naruto's wife Hinata and Luffy's chef Sanji suddenly showed up with an endless supply of ramen. That's right, because after all the fighting, both of them are sure to be starving, and after eating each other's fill, I think both boys would actually bond over their shared past. Because in case you don't know, both Luffy and Naruto grew up without their parents, which is pretty tragic by itself. But I mean, at least Naruto didn't have it as bad as Lelouch though, because he did something so terrible that he was literally kicked out of his kingdom. And honestly, Luffy's childhood was basically a paradise compared to Denji's, who straight up died. But of course, none of these characters can even hold a candle to Emma from the Promised Neverland, who has possibly the most messed up backstory in all of anime, which you can actually hear about in this video right here, where I talk about the backstory of each shonen protagonist. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, subscribe. I know it's very annoying, but it does really help out a young channel like this. Otherwise, I hopefully will see you in the next one.